Magnetic field there?
Right, this is magnetic field, sound level, and also ultrasonic motion detector.
This is 15 to 20 milligauss here?
Right.
I mean, that's pretty high. How many spikes do we have on the electromagnetic field? There's 1, 2, 3 spikes. So there's actually a whole series of spikes. A couple of them between 15 and 20 milligauss.
Can you tell what time that was?
It appears that while Jerry was getting her picture of the orb, the team's sensor array spiked.
This one here was the assistant lightkeeper's.
Even more surprising, in the cistern, noted for its malevolent atmosphere, the motion detector has gone off.
These spikes represent the distance to the back wall of the cistern, which is roughly 18 feet. These deviations in here suggest that possibly another object was closer, maybe 9 feet from the sensor.
So this motion sensor operates on an ultrasonic beam. So that suggests that there may have been something inside the sensor which would have blocked that beam and set off the motion detector.
The team has made some revealing discoveries in the basement, but Jerry has one last question. If a man did die in the lighthouse, who was he?
These are the pictures that I collected from the archives.
To help her solve the mystery, Celeste has pulled some historical photos.
Well, neither of these seem like the man that I saw in the tower. He seems to be kind of the stature of the man that I saw in the tower. A little bit shorter and a little bit heavier build, but he doesn't appear to have any facial hair, and it was kind of a sketchy image of his face that I got.
Unfortunately for Jerry, none of these pictures connect with her ghostly impression. The men don't look like him, and they dress differently. Then, in the hallway, she sees an image that sparks her memory.
This outfit that he has on is exactly what I was describing earlier in terms of the work type pants and the linen type, but a work shirt and the suspenders. Do you have anything else, any pictures that would be closer to that I could look at?
Unfortunately, we don't. It's something that we're working on, that they're trying to research.
Further investigation revealed that the clothing worn by this lightkeeper was from the Victorian era. During that time, there were 2 documented deaths. First, in 1859, a lightkeeper fell to his death while whitewashing the tower. Second, in 1892, another died of consumption. His name was William Harn.
How's the electromagnetic field? Pretty much
For the
nominal.
ghost detectives, this investigation has been extremely rewarding. They've documented the doubling effect of geomagnetic and electrical radiation in the restroom. And they've captured an orb image and shown its coincident effect on electromagnetic activity in the basement and the motion sensors in the cistern. All in all, the evidence supports Dr. Nichols' theory that electromagnetic activity is a catalyst for the paranormal.
I think probably the most important thing is the fact that we've discovered this very unusual geomagnetic field, and that means a magnetic field generated by the Earth itself. So in a way, the house can be thought of as a giant storage battery, amplifying these magnetic fields, and people who are sensitive to them, who come into these environments, experience the ghosts that are here.
The St. Augustine Lighthouse, a home for ghosts and a destination for ghost detectives. Given the history and these new discoveries, it's likely that the sightings will continue, and it seems for visitors and staff alike that they're welcome. At the St. Augustine Lighthouse, ghosts are just a part of the history, past, present, and future.
Most of them don't bother me. It's kind of nice having some of them in the tower because you feel like someone's actually keeping an eye on the tower when no one's here. This is their home.
Castles, dungeons, and ghosts. You don't expect to find all of them together in the United States, but in St. Augustine, Florida, the oldest city in North America, you have all 3, and a haunted history at the Castillo de San Marcos. Built in 1695, the Castillo was Spain's northernmost outpost in the New World. Its commanding location protected the town, the bay, and the Spanish treasure fleets returning home. Beginning in 1763, the Castillo was briefly held by Great Britain, but in 1821 it was ceded to the United States. In the 19th century, during the Indian Wars, the American military periodically used it as a prison for Native Americans. Plains Indians, Apaches, and Seminole Indians were all held here. Karen Harvey and John Stavely are experts on the Castillo and its ghostly history.
Well, there definitely is a lot of spiritual activity here because of the history of the fort and how many people have come and gone.
So many people have said they've had both feelings and sightings here inside the fort. There's a thickness that many people report, just a heaviness as they walk through some of the rooms.
The fortress was laid out as a hollow square with diamond-shaped bastions at each corner and a single entrance. Outside, up on the gun deck and the central plaza, there have been ghostly sightings of soldiers. Some are reported active and at work, others dead from unknown injuries. Inside the Castillo, 3 particular areas are the focus of frequent paranormal activity. The best known is the powder magazine. Buried deep in the earth, it was designed to protect the fort's gunpowder from enemy fire. But the powder magazine's lack of ventilation made the room damp and unsuitable for storing gunpowder. The entrance was later sealed with stone, and this has led to one of the Castillo's great legends.
It was rumored that one of the former governors had caught his wife in an affair with one of his soldiers and had boarded them up in there and chained them to the wall and sealed up the room. Because when the room was uncovered after a cannon had fallen through the roof, there was reports of roses when they opened up the wall, this overpowering smell and sweetness. There were reports that there were bones found in the room, but nobody really knows whether those bones were human or animals.
There's also one particular storage room noted for ghostly activity. Usually supplies were held here, but during the Seminole Indian Wars, this was a deadly prison for 20 captured Native Americans.
Their leader, Kawakochi, was determined to escape from this room. All of the Indians starved themselves for several weeks and then finally managed to escape through a very small window that was approximately 15 feet off of the ground. The window was 5 feet high and only 9 inches wide, and yet all of them escaped.
Maybe most mysterious of all is a dungeon-like cell next to the guard rooms. To this day, there's little known about it, but to anyone who enters, there's a sense of foreboding.
814 a moment ago. Jack, you go with the electromagnetic field meter.
Using their handheld equipment and Jerry's psychic ability, the team begins their investigation with a site survey. They'll be looking for likely locations to document any of the 3 categories of ghosts. The most common is a residual haunting. It's often compared to a film loop, a memory in the location that repeats but doesn't interact. Then there's what's called a psi projection, an event, a movement that's actually caused by the psychokinetic abilities of someone in the area. Least common and most difficult to document is what's known as a genuine haunting, a ghost that actually interacts.
You seem to have a real entity, a living consciousness without a body that is able to interact with the observer, is able to communicate information to the observer that the person witnessing the ghost wouldn't have otherwise known. These are the cases that are the most interesting and also the most rare. They're the ones that most strongly suggest the survival of the human mind after the death of the physical body.
Jack, you can check out the powder magazine.
Okay.
I'll head over to the prison. I'll keep in touch with the walkie-talkies, okay?
Somebody wanting to escape. Somebody was willing to die to get out of here.
How long did it take out in the other room?
A 1-second transient of over 100 milligauss.
This room feels like just a montage of anger and sorrow and hopelessness.
814, I had a spike of 814 a moment ago. This would not be a pleasant place to spend an evening, would it?
Whoever was imprisoned in this area knew they weren't going to be released. Not just feelings of imprisonment and desperation, but torment.
It's 821 in here, 821 milligauss.